so here we are. I've had this Pixel for about a week now, so I kind of want to do my 1 week impression, but I'm just going to really break it down into likes and dislikes. So without having to rehash a lot of those things that a lot of the YouTubers have talked about, and those things really kind of added to my worries upon purchasing this phone. And instead of rehashing a lot of those things, I'm just going to go ahead and have a list of those right here. All right. So take a look at those things, and we're just actually going to go ahead and move on. So from that list of things, the one thing that does concern me from personal usage is the battery. I did have the battery kind of die on me this past week. As a matter of fact, I woke up late to work just because the phone died. I thought I put it on my wireless charger, and I thought I had powered it on when I put it on the wireless charger, but apparently it didn't power on. And so that could be my fault because I didn't look at it, but still, at the end of the day, that phone, that period of time that it died, I only had 2 hours of screen on usage at that time. So that's pretty poor for a flagship phone in 2019. And I was almost ready to do my impression video at that time. I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I waited. After I watched a couple videos from Brandon This Is Today and Jay Will, they honestly had talked about their opinion. They went ahead and said, hey, hold off, wait for the adaptive battery feature to kick in. And it did. And you'll kind of get a little bit more either usage, or it'll kind of work with your idle time. So essentially it got better. Not too much. I'm probably getting about maybe about 5 hours. I think the best I got was maybe I think I hit 6 hours screen on time. I believe I took a screenshot of that, but that's not typical for me. I'm gonna say I'm probably getting between 4.5 to 5, and 5 is typically when it's it's about 2% life left when it's at 5. So that's kind of the one concern for me. I have used the the face unlock thing, and it works, and it's honestly I kind of prefer it to Face ID on the iPhone, because I guess for me, because it just goes straight into your display. So you just go straight to your home screen, even though I guess the concern a lot of people have is that you don't get to see your notifications, but that doesn't seem to bother me as much, just because you can go look at your notifications anyway. And plus they do have the little swipe gesture now that you can just swipe down. Sorry, you can, I don't know if you can see that, but you can swipe down. You can swipe down and get your notifications that way. So they gave you quick access to be able to look at it. So it almost simulates having the fingerprint sensor on the back. I really do miss that. But for right now, I guess when you're at your home screen, there are a few issues I do have with the home screen software gesture things. One, you can only do that little gesture when you're at the home screen. You can't really do it within other apps. But I do like the feature to be able to go back by just swiping to the left edge of the screen. That seems to really make this phone a really good one-handed phone, because I know the Note was trying to do that with the One UI. I think Android, well, Google, I think Google's kind of in the line of doing it just a little bit better, but it's still not there yet, because sometimes when you want to go back, you can't slide, because if you go to Amazon or some of those sites that have that panel on the left hand side that you're used to swiping across the screen from the edge of the screen to pull out the panel, now you can't do that because it's going to send you back. So I do have my little quirks and qualms with how well this is actually going to pan out. I don't know how they're going to implement that and make that change for you to be able to do it seamlessly, but overall I kind of do like those gestures. But then again, once again, you don't necessarily need to buy the Pixel 4 to get those gestures. If you got a Pixel 3, obviously you can just go ahead and download Android 10 if you're not already on it, and you can go ahead and change the gestures to, you can change the button layout to those gestures and obviously get the same experience. So what really makes this phone unique, in my opinion, you do have, once again, that face unlock. That's what this whole thing is based on. And you have based with that same technology, you do have the radar. and that radar, what they call Project Soli. I don't think they ever actually said the correct pronunciation, but with Project Soli, you can, wave your hand and listen to tracks. For me, I find that more useful when I'm in the car. If I've got my phone sitting in the cradle, and if I'm playing music, there's a track that I don't want to listen to, I can kind of just do this, and I can still keep my hands on the steering wheel. So I do think it is a little useful, but it's in certain situations. I do remember I was listening to music one time. It is kind of sensitive because I was listening to music one time, and I had my phone laying on my bed, and I was folding clothes. So I reached over my phone to grab a t-shirt or something, and then it skipped the track. And so it's a little too sensitive, I think, but it does work for the most part. What's a little disappointing is those alarms. Like when an alarm goes off in the morning, you can use a gesture to silence the alarm, but it only dismisses it. Well, I mean, it only silences it. It doesn't dismiss the alarm. So it's like Google tried to do some things with it, but it's like they're not completing the cycle. Like you could play music and swipe through different tracks, but there's no way to really pause music. I think it's just as important to be able to pause as it is to be able to navigate through. So if you really want to fully navigate through, and especially with all that they were showing off that what Project Soli could do, and all we get is just, all we get is that. So, and then let's talk about this design though. This orange, kind of peach a little bit, but I honestly like this frosted glass look. I mean, compared to the previous designs of the Pixel, this is probably the least hideous phone that they've made. Just because, I mean, once they've kind of gone a uniform, kind of with the exception of this thing, but it's kind of a uniform design. I do like this, and then you've got the matte finish rails to give you more grip on the sides, and I don't know, it feels thin. It's very, very narrow. You know what I'm saying? It's a tall phone, but yeah, the design, I actually do like the design. In a way, it kind of feels like a Pixel 2S. If I was to give this phone a name, it doesn't really, to me overall, it doesn't really feel like a Pixel 4. It just feels like it feels like a refinished Pixel 2. Why I say that is because I really miss the front-facing camera, the wide-angle front-facing camera that they had, because they had two lenses on the Pixel 3, and they took those away, and they just give you this one lens, even though it's semi-wide-ish, but it's not wide-angle like the first one was. Pictures, of course, they're still impressive with the Pixel 4. But how do they compare with others? Like, I've taken a few shots with this and the iPhone in broad daylight, and it's a toss-up. I'm gonna be real with you. It's not like a blowout on either end. But once again, I will do an in-depth camera comparison video between the two, because that's the reason why I got the Pixels, because I really wanted to see in a camera shootout which one will win, and so far I'm thinking, just because of that wide angle camera that the iPhone 11 has, it's probably going to be my preferred camera to use on a smartphone. But that's not to say that this is a slouch. They decided to go with the telephoto, of course, at the conference. That's what they talked about. They even mentioned it. And then, but yet still, they decided to go with the telephoto. But I will say that the zoom does actually look pretty good. Like, when you do zoom in, it's better than, I think, the high-res zoom that they had with the Pixel 3. So with this, of course, the speakers sound good. They still have stereo speakers, except it's not front-facing. You got one at the bottom, one at the top here, and it's still loud. I don't think anybody's going to complain about the sound. The speed, it feels fluid. You've got this 90 hertz OLED display. To me, the display almost really feels very close to that Pixel 2. I don't know what it is, but it feels like they have like a warmer color palette. Like I remember when I booted the phone, and when you see that white Google logo, it kind of looked like that Pixel 2 display, except it just wasn't blue. But you know, it's this phone is kind of just like Floss said. You've got a love-hate relationship with it. I have a love-hate relationship. I don't like the battery life. The display obviously is not as bright as it needs to be. When you're out in daylight, you have to turn that thing all the way up just so you can see the screen. But you do like the software experience. You do. You know, there are, like I said, my quirks really with the software. I want to say I like the software, but they have some things that now with this, they kind of left out some things when they migrated to this whole gesture-based system. I already had my sentiments that I stated in my last Pixel 3 XL review, but they tried to do a gesture thing, then it didn't quite work as well, and now it's a little better, but they still are missing some things. Like, for instance, the you can't press and hold the home button down now to activate the Google Assistant. You have to squeeze now. And then also they used to have like the screen read function where when you used to hold the home button down, but now even if you squeeze, it's telling you to it's telling you to go ahead and make sure you have it activated in settings and then press and hold the home button. But they haven't made this gesture system fluid enough yet. And that's all I'm saying. So I think they're kind of in the right direction, but once again, the question I have, and this is what most people have, is who is this phone really for? And I think mainly, I guess, it's kind of for the Google fans for the most part, just because, I mean, yeah, if you like pictures, cool, you know, and that was their appeal for the last few generations. But now that other phones have stepped up their game, the Note 10 Plus, the iPhone 11, like, where does this stand? Like, you know, it's almost like, what's the purpose of it? But, you know, it's not saying that you can't get a good experience out of it, but it's just, once again, it doesn't have its role, because, you know, people used to go to certain phones for certain roles. They'll go to the Note because that Note has the S Pen and certain Samsung features that they like. They'll go to the iPhone just because they love iMessage. But I don't see a single one thing that stands out with this phone that just would just be like the selling point, other than, I guess, that radar, which honestly, it's been a tried system. I'm not gonna lie, this probably might be a little bit more accurate than some stuff that I've used in the past, but it's just not enough to like compel me to spend, you know, it's not gonna compel the average consumer to spend, you know, $800+ on a Pixel. But those are just my thoughts coming out here for the first week. I know this is a little bit of a long video, but that's just to kind of summarize my first initial impressions with this phone. So stay tuned for more coverage. I'm gonna be doing, you know, some comparisons, like I said, video, probably speaker, do some case videos. But yeah, stay tuned to the channel. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Peace.